Hello, my name is Jessica Monroe. I'm a biology major here at the University of Texas at San Antonio. Today I want to discuss the Monroe Doctrine, what it entails, when it started, its relevance in today's society, and why it's important to know. The Monroe Doctrine was expressed by our fifth president, James Monroe. He articulated this document on December 2nd, 1823. The purpose for this document was to let European powers know that we don't want them interfering in the affairs of the Western Hemisphere. Today, it is best known as the U.S. policy toward the Western Hemisphere. It warns European nations that the U.S. would not tolerate further colonization or puppet monarchs. Monroe's principal concern had been to make sure that European mercantilism was not to be reimposed on an area of increasing importance economically and ideologically, the United States. Why was the Monroe Doctrine created? It was developed because the United States and Britain were concerned over the possibility of European colonial expansion in the Americas. James Monroe claims the American continents, by the free and independent conditions which they have assumed and maintained, are henceforth not to be considered as subjects for future colonization by any European powers. The political system of the European Allied powers is essentially different from that of America. We should consider any attempt on their part to extend their system to any portion of this hemisphere as dangerous to our peace and safety. Why does it matter to other countries? In 1821, a Russian Tsar proclaimed that all land north of the 51st parallel, extending 100 miles of the Pacific, would be off limits to anyone that is non-Russian. John Adams, who also majorly contributed to the Monroe Doctrine, told the Russian minister that the U.S. would defend the principle that the American continents are no longer subjects of any new European colonial establishments. In the 1890s, the United States extended the doctrine to say that the right to decide how a dispute between Venezuela and Great Britain over the boundaries of British Guiana should be settled. Of this doctrine's purview comes with Theodore Roosevelt's famous corollary. He announced that henceforth European nations would not be allowed to use force to collect debts owed to them by Latin American countries. The Roosevelt corollary soon became a justification for interventions in Central America and the Caribbean, and the creation of a series of semi-protectorates on the order of the American-opposed Platt Amendment to the Cuban-American Treaty of 1903. This brings on imperialism. The Monroe Doctrine made a huge impact. One example of this is during the first quarter of the 19th century, besides Mexico, almost every other important colony in Latin America gained independence from its mother country in Europe. As this occurred, certain powerful monarchies in Europe threatened to stamp out representative governments if they developed in the old colonies. That's why in 1823, James Monroe developed the Monroe Doctrine. It warned the European monarchies that they could expect a strong response from the United States if they interfered in North or South America. Even in today's society, the Monroe Doctrine and its foreign policy ideals are discussed. John Kerry, our current Secretary of State, made an announcement in 2013 saying, "The era of the Monroe Doctrine is over. The relationship that we seek and that we have worked hard to foster is not about a United States declaration about now and when it'll intervene in the affairs of other American states. It's about all of our countries viewing one another as equals, sharing responsibilities, cooperating on security issues, and adhering to the decisions that we make as partners to advance the values and the interests that we share. Like our current Secretary of State, John Kerry, stated, we need to be moving away from talking about interfering, but instead start treating other countries like equals.